on the program are solely that of Heiar Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands. Welcome in, everybody, to Taking Care of Business, a Friday edition. You got me back this week, and of course, as always, you've got Matt Heiar. Matt, how you doing today?
Good. It's Friday, and it's a brisk, cool fall day.
Yeah, it's Halloween. You dressed up as a Wisconsin Badger fan.
Yeah.
Not a risky one for you. That's a common occurrence.
Well, yeah, and it's Badgers basketball fan.
Oh, very specific. Yeah, yeah. Well, you got to go with the ones that tend to win, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Being that it's Halloween, any trick-or-treating plans in your future tonight, or did you guys knock it all out last weekend locally?
We took care of it between Fall Fest last week, which was a great turnout and really fun time, and then the next day, the annual trick-or-treating citywide, we did that also.
Okay. Did you get your dad tax out of the candy?
Oh, yeah. I've been taxing those children pretty much every night so far since Sunday.
They're still young enough where they still enjoy sharing the candy with you, right?
Well, they see some wrappers, in the bag or something. They'll be like, "Dad," and it's like, well, sorry. It's just I was craving it, and it's always at nighttime for some reason.
Yeah, late night, sweet cravings. My kids have developed the sense that they had to go through their candy and pick out the stuff that they wanted to give to Dad, with the idea that like, oh, this is the stuff Dad likes, and then they just both brought me like a little baggie full of candy. It's like, here you go, and I'm looking through it. I'm like, this is all the stuff you guys hate, isn't it? 100%. It's all the stuff they don't want to eat, and I'm like, cool.
What is the candy that you dislike the most?
Oh, so we were discussing this a little bit on the morning show, and I almost got flack for it because they have these like, I don't know, they're like a soft, chewy thing that's like wrapped in like orange or black paper.
Oh yes,
and I don't know what it is. Maybe every time I find a place that's giving them away, it's always last year's supply because they're hard as a rock. The paper gets stuck in them, so you can never get all the paper out of it. Eating it, I feel like I'm going to lose a tooth each and every time. I almost, like, no offense to anybody who gets those candies and hands them out for Halloween, but if you do and it ends up in my bag, chances are it's going to end up in the bag in my trash can at home, too.
Aren't they like Butterfinger toffee or something?
I don't know.
Or not toffee, like taffy. Like
it's weird.
I know, just like I'm the most infamous candy is candy corn.
I love candy corn.
Really? See, I'm not a fan of it. The worst, though, by the way, is, which I don't like, is the Whoppers, the malted milk balls.
Right.
Not a fan of that.
Not a fan of those either. I'm even to the point now where maybe it's my old age thing. I don't know. I don't have the time or patience for Milk Duds anymore.
You mean, or the dental bill?
Yeah, or that. Yeah. Yeah, no, now I'm like, how about instead of give me something sweet, you throw like a beef stick or something in there. Give me some jerky. I want a more savory treat.
Okay.
I can go for that. I did say we did swing by one house, though. They were definitely looking out for the adults, and they were making sure we were protected from werewolves. They were handing out silver bullets to all the adults.
Really?
Yeah, it was great. I had one, cracked it up when I got home.
Okay.
So,
that's
well worth
cool.
it. Well worth it. Of course, we know what we're going to be here to talk about. Before we get into it, I want to talk about some fun stuff, because we're going to get into some not-so-fun stuff. Packers this weekend, you got a prediction? Looks like it's going to be an easy one for us, but that's scary.
I know, and that's I heard Wildy talking about it. It's kind of be, it's a game like we're expected to win, and those are the scariest games.
Always.
So I just hope like we play like we've been playing and just do what we're supposed to do, get the job done, and don't overlook this game, because I'm pretty sure then we play a really good matchup against the Eagles the following week.
Yes.
And that's a big game, so let's not overlook it and just get the job done, because this team still has 4 wins.
Right.
So it's not like, and we said that against the Browns. I think they had like 1 win. We're like, we got this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That did not happen.
And I know we're kind of riding a high from last week because we're all feeling pretty good. When you deal with the drama that we dealt with there in Rodgers, and you're like, yeah, well, now look where we're at. Look where we're at. We're great.
I know. So all week we're like, we made the right decision. We made the right decision. But
now we got to prove it, right?
Exactly. And so there's a long season. 1 game doesn't matter, but it's just a little nerve-wracking, obviously, and being a Wisconsin fan, we've been let down many times, so like the Brewers and stuff, but they had a good year, so we can't really complain about that. We're a small market team, and we were in the Final Four.
Yeah.
So we have to look at the positive, glass half full mentality, especially this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. You are correct. I want to remind everybody, if you want to contact us on the show, you have a question for Matt Heiar and you want to ask it, please feel free to give us a call. You can call us at 920-887-9595. That's also our text line. So if you want to text it in, you can do that as well. Or you can call us at 920-885-4446. And up in the studio, we got Ashley dressed as a minion. standing by, ready to take your call. She's very excited to be doing so, obviously.
Absolutely.
So my first question right off the bat, because I've been seeing some stuff come out where people are saying, well, we're finally seeing the Affordable Care Act numbers, and we're seeing them, and we're not liking what we see. It's scaring a lot of people, freaking a lot of people out. And we are about to be starting tomorrow.
Unfortunately, tomorrow.
That's when people can start signing up for stuff when it comes to the Affordable Care Act plans, the marketplace plans, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I like calling it the marketplace because I like that generic term come across. Let's not name it to anybody necessarily specifically, but that window's coming up while you're in the window of trying to do everything you're doing now with Medicare stuff. How are you not stressed out of belief?
Yeah, it's once again, just kind of like in October or prior to October, oh, what are the plans going to look like? What are the premiums going to be? So it's the same anticipation, and we're here on the eve of it.
Right.
So that's where it's scary because we did our training. We were told this is what it's going to be. It's going to be pre-COVID stuff, where there's a cutoff where you have to pay the full premium if you don't get a tax credit. So there will be tax credits. So that's one thing.
Right.
But just with the government, another week, right? Not working.
Right. Yeah.
So there's that uncertainty. And we've never had this. Usually it's finalized, everything's ready to go, and then we hit the ground running, November 1st. Well, we're kind of just up in limbo right now because the question I have for the government is I will sign someone up, Monday, starting Monday. And hey, your tax credit's $500. Your plan costs $600. All right, so they take the tax credit off. You're going to pay $100 a month.
Right.
Boom. Sign them up. They get a bill. They start paying it. Make sure their premium's paid before January 1st. Well, what if the government starts negotiating this and all of a sudden they're like, well, we're going to give a little bit more in tax credits? Is that going to adjust their premium, or are they grandfathered in sorry, you were just ambitious and signed up too early? So we've never had a change. What if they don't decide it till January, February?
Right. That could go the other way, right?
Yeah. So that's my question. I think that since they're not working and just to continue the government opening or keeping the government open for 7 weeks, and it's been 30 days and they still haven't figured it out, I'm pretty much assuming that this is how it's going to be. And then any debate they make in the future is just going to be maybe for 2027.
Right.
So
whatever numbers you're looking at, these higher numbers that everybody's freaking out, they very well could be your numbers for the next year.
Oh, yes. And that's why this has been really tough because the numbers you're seeing, right? Because I was seeing all those memes too.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, someone was paying this much a month. Now they're going to pay this much. And they were based on the silver plans. That's what a lot of them were. Well, the silver plans, I don't have many people on them. So the silver plans are obviously much more expensive.
Right.
So a lot of people are picking the bronze plans, which are more catastrophic, but they're cheaper premiums.
Right.
So basically we're still retired and we're not filing bankruptcy if something major happens. That's how we look at it. So instead of paying X amount of dollars more in premium, let's use that towards doctoring if we have to. If not, we won.
Right.
Glass half full mentality.
Right.
So that's kind of been our strategy, ever since this has started. The silver plans only come up when we hit a certain income bracket where they actually adjust the deductibles and copays and premiums where it's much more beneficial for you. So, but yes, if you're making 60, 70,000, as a household income, we're not picking a silver plan.
Right.
So, and then there's a gold plan, but typically a lot of people have been taking what we call a bronze plan. That's their lowest grade plan, highest deductible. So, but the thing is that we've had a lot of calls this week.
Right.
And I can't answer anything. And that's the frustrating part. But one of our secretaries who's on the marketplace insurance got her notice. So it was from her provider and it said, hey, you were paying $12 a month, this year, your premium's going to go up to $1,100 next year.
That's a pretty massive jump.
Yes, and it's very deceiving because it's like, whoa. She's like, I can't pay that. I can't, and she did that. She works with us, and she did that. The natural, what am I going to do? That's more than my mortgage. And what they're doing is they're saying, hey, it's 1100 if you don't get a tax credit.
Right.
So they're typically they send you a letter saying, hey, based on last year's tax credit, this is what your premium is going to be for next year. So if you do nothing, it just kind of rolls over and that's the premium you pay. But once we find out what the tax credits are going to be, which there is tax credits already established. They're involved with it. There's already a budget for the marketplace insurance. It's just it's up in limbo because we don't know. So I feel like the government might be waiting for the insurance companies to set their prices before they say it. That would be wishful thinking.
Right. Well, because the last thing they want to do is say, well, we're going to credit this much. And then the insurance companies say, well, we're going to raise the price this much so we can still make a little extra.
Another smoke and mirrors effect. So that's why a lot is up in the air. I will be able to answer a lot more questions, obviously, starting tomorrow. So we will know so much more. But there is a tax credit. And if you reach a certain threshold, you will not receive a tax credit. And if you've been on the marketplace for a long time, it's just going to be like pre-COVID, kind of how it was before. Like, hey, if you make too much money, you have to pay more. And that's kind of like any government program, even Medicare. If you make too much money, you're going to pay more than everyone else. Right. If you don't make enough money, your Medicare could get paid for you. So it kind of is what it is. So that's why a lot of people are going with the more catastrophic plans. The worst scenario we have, though, is someone that's doctoring a lot, that's on very expensive medications, that makes a decent amount of money. Right. And that's where we run into problems where we are going to be meeting these max out of pockets. Right. So that's kind of the rough situation, but we'll just have to take it, one day at a time. I'm literally booked up the next 3 weeks.
I imagine.
Because typically people are like, yep, hey, we'll do a phone appointment. Give me a call sometime during that time and we'll set it up. So we have folders that we just put in the stack. And I'm looking at the stack and it's not that big. So I'm like, what's going on? And then I look at the schedule and it's just booked. Because everyone's getting these scary letters. Everyone's watching the news. Everyone knows the government's not working. Everyone knows that the tax credits are up in limbo. And it's a lot more people do not want a phone call. They want to come in and see what's going to happen and what is actually going on. So I don't know yet, but we will find out and we will get you insurance. You will be insured no matter what. Looks like we could be potentially like at $10,000 out of pocket. Pretty steep jump. Right. It was like $9,200 this year for max out of pockets. Deductibles will still be around $7,500 probably for those catastrophic plans. So, yeah, it's I feel like a politician, right? I'm kind of giving you an answer, right? But it's
we don't know what we don't know, right?
We don't, but that's the thing, though. I think we've waited so long, and no one's working on it, and no one's budging, that I don't think we can make the change because we're going to start signing people up tomorrow,
right?
So we'll just have to wait and see. I'll have a lot more information. Hopefully, the government's working next Friday.
Right. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. We've said that for how many weeks?
Oh, boy. More than I can count at this point. I'm going to have to start using the other hand and take my shoes off soon. My follow-up question to that would be if somebody comes and talks to you next week and you guys go in and they say, all right, we're going to go with this bronze plan. I'm happy with that. That works. Cool. Great. And then they come out with, all right, here's what the tax breaks are going to be. Here's what the plan's going to be. Here's how it's going to be different. Can they come in and talk to you and change their mind? Can they say, can I adjust it to this? Or are they already locked in because they made that decision?
That's a good point. So, typically, we can report life changes. Right. So, if I set you up and we're good to go, and then all of a sudden in January you call me and be like, hey, the furnace went out. I had to pull from my 401k, $10,000. I adjust your premium. So, will that give you the new tax credit? Right. Or will it automatically happen? And these are the questions we have as agents, because people are asking these questions and it's like, I can't honestly answer them because we've just never had this situation. We knew with the Inflation Reduction Act, it was set to expire, the COVID tax credits, January 26th. Right. So years in advance, we knew what was going to happen. Right. It's going to go back to pre-COVID. So typically when Congress makes decisions, if they make a decision now, minimum it would be for next year. But it's just the trickle effect right now of how expensive these stem cells and these $100,000 surgeries are common, and everyone's getting every joint replaced. Outpatient procedures, you're walking, hours after surgery.
Yeah.
So, but these are very expensive things, especially with the medications. So, yes, the insurance companies are having high deductibles, which we're kind of seeing that even with group, which it's a lot, but the premiums have gone up crazy amount.
Right.
You know, so like, do we blame the hospitals for, you know, billing out this large amount of money? Do we blame the insurance companies for having these catastrophic premiums? Do we blame the pharmaceutical companies for charging too much? So to fix healthcare, where do you start?
Right. I almost feel like you have to tear everything down to base and begin
Yeah,
again.
because it's like you have to go about it. Like, you can't just say, oh, it's insurance companies, you know, or oh, it's, you know, hospitals don't get as much, you know, or doctors don't get as much. And that's, I don't know where you start and where you end. But it kind of all has to be redone.
Right.
Because, I mean, yes, like, you do go to other countries. They're like, I stayed in the hospital for 3 nights.
Right.
I'm like, what? And like, oh yeah, I had to do this and this, and I got a bill for $1,200. It's like,
For 3 nights.
well, that would have been pulling in the parking lot by us.
Yeah.
So and that's where, you know, I don't know if the government is subsidizing their hospitals, their facilities, their doctors, and, you know, but I think we just have to reconfigure everything and get everyone on the same page. And I don't know if that's possible.
Right.
We can't even get the people we elect into office to agree on anything. So that's where we are. I don't know how we're going to fix our healthcare.
Right.
But these are major decisions, even when we get off the marketplace, of what we're going to pick for our Medicare insurance.
Right.
Because you can do an Advantage plan, which is $0 a month. Yeah. And they have max out of pockets. They're 1-year contracts. It's similar to what we're dealing with now with the marketplace. Right. So I can't tell you what 27 is going to look like, or 28 is going to look like, or if there's going to be some government, you know, intervening with it. Or you could do a supplement where you pay a monthly premium and it keeps going up every year, you know, but if it's not affordable, then we can't do that.
Right.
So, but these are things we have to talk about, like, you know, our health, our family history. So we're not just trying to pry, we're trying to, like, guide you to the best plan for your budget, for your comfort with the plan, and then your health. You know, that's the biggest thing is, and then we get to medications, which is, I'm hearing some medications I've never heard of before that
Right.
people are coming in, and it's like, uh-oh, and then I'm
These like the new hot drugs.
yep. And then I'm like, oh, right. I heard a commercial on TV for it. And it's very, very expensive. And so that's why we have to, you know, we're going to pick the best plan. But this year for prescription drug plans, is the max out of pocket is $2,000. So that's including your deductibles, your copays, not your premiums, $2,000. That's how. So once you spend $2,000, your medications, every one of them go to zero.
Right.
Now the key word is covered Medicares or covered medications.
Right.
Big deal, because if, like, there's a medication that's $5,000 a month, but Medicare doesn't cover it, you're going to pay $60,000 that year.
Right.
So if it's covered, then yes, your max out of pocket is $2,100. Or next year is $2,100. Sorry. So it's just been a whirlwind of a lot of unknown answers, and then running the drug plans, reviewing insurance. But yes, this is a unique year.
Incredibly.
Yep. And I was so positive starting. I was like, you know,
I know,
what?
you
Not
were.
too many changes. Things are going pretty good.
Little did we know.
And then the government shuts down, and then healthcare gets brought up. But I just don't know if this is like, we can just make a decision and, like, it's going to be better, because, you know, just adding more money to the marketplace, I just don't know. I think we should go after, like, okay, if we give you more money, will you lower the deductibles?
Right.
You know, will you lower the premiums?
Right.
And, like, we need negotiations to happen, and then maybe even with the providers, you know, because we have these HMOs, which are their insurance, their hospitals, their specialists, their surgeons. So they're kind of negotiating with themselves. They pay themselves. You either give it to the insurance company or the actual facility, but in the end, the same entity gets it.
Right.
So it's like, I just don't know where you would start. And that is just, I think it's just been a trickle effect over the years, and it's avalanching right now, and something's got to give.
Right.
But in the end of the day, the last 20 years, it's just been the consumer is eating it. And with things being not cheap nowadays, I don't think we can go on this way, but I don't have a fix. But I think it's a lot of different moving parts. It's not just the insurance company or
Right.
the doctor. You know, it's so much more. It's these doctors don't know what medications cost, right?
Right.
They know what's best for you. You know, they know what surgery they should provide you. They don't know how much it's being billed.
Right.
So, and it's like, what is the doctor going to do? Say like, well, you need your knee replaced, but I know your insurance is really high deductible, so you shouldn't have it.
Right.
You know,
I mean, they're looking out for your best well-being and health, ideally.
yes,
That's what they're there for. They're not necessarily looking out for your pocketbook.
yeah, and that's because they don't. I don't think they know.
Right.
You know, like when they recommend a surgery, they don't know if you have a $2,000 deductible or a $9,000.
Right.
Right? They're just dealing with the patient and giving you the best care they can, and they're guiding you in the best way that they think is necessary for you. Same with us, but it's just affordability.
Right.
I mean, nowadays that's all we can talk about is affordability. It's like, was this in our budget? Can we afford this if we have a catastrophic year?
Right.
You know, because honestly, $9,000, yeah, that's a crazy amount of money. I can't just write a check for that tomorrow. There is payment plans, right? You can set up payment plans, financial assistance. But if we have $1 million cancer year, who cares about $9,000?
Right. Right. That's a drop in the bucket.
So it's just you know, we're kind of working with this, but yeah, I would not want to be in the government situation because I just don't know where you would start to fix this. But I think just feeding more money into it is not really. Well, that's what we've been doing,
Right.
and I don't see any improvements. You know, like in the irony, it's Affordable Care Act. It's affordable if the government gives a lot more money, and we take the catastrophic plan.
Right.
Because if we try to take a gold plan, which is their highest grade plan, has lower deductibles, it's outrageous.
Right.
You know, so
At that point, you might as well go with like the paying for your own group insurance, like you would for Cobra or whatever. Right?
Yes, and
'Cause
some-
essentially the same thing.
well, and some people are. We used to laugh at Cobra numbers, right? We're like, yeah, $1,000 a month, yeah, right,
happening, right.
not paying. And then we start looking at these plans. It's like, well, this one has a $9,000 out of pocket per person, so $18,000 if you have a car accident, med flight, you both are in the hospital, and it's what, $800, $700. You know, so some people are like, I will pay $100 or $200 more a month not to have to deal with that. Now, Cobra's only 18 months.
Right.
But like this is like for retirement, we have to start thinking about this kind of stuff. If we don't want to deal with this, 63 and a half, key age right now, because Cobra is a federal law and it allows you the continuation of your current insurance for 18 months. So that could bridge our gap to Medicare.
Right.
If Cobra's too expensive, maybe we do work till 65. Hopefully we have a spouse that's like 10 years younger than us and they keep working, we could just be on their group insurance.
Right. There you go. Easy enough.
But yeah, so these are now we're having to start making decisions where, and that was kind of the situation we were dealing with pre-COVID. You know, like now people are like, well, yeah, absolutely, I'll retire now because I only have to pay $10 a month for my insurance. Yeah, it's catastrophic, but it's still worth me not going to work.
Right.
You know, so the tune might change a little bit, but we're just trying to bridge a gap to 65 without wishing our life away. Because I could show you great insurance at 65.
Right.
But we just got to get there.
Well, and what's crazy is the amount of differences because when you hit 65, suddenly you go from that group health or the Cobra or the Affordable Care Acts, the plans, to Medicare. And there's changes on how things are covered. I just did a remote at the hospital, and they were talking about vaccinations, and we were talking about the shingles vaccine. Mm-hmm. And they were saying, yeah, really good idea for people to get, you know, the age time frame and everything. And I said, well, and generally covered? And they went, yes, but once you hit 65, it's only covered if you do it at the pharmacist.
Yes. So that's what we call Medicare Part D vaccination.
But before that, it's covered if you do it at the doctor's office.
No, it wasn't covered.
But the weird changes on like, and I'm thinking, how are we supposed to keep all this straight? You could be expecting insurance to work one way all the way up, and then you hit Medicare age, and suddenly you might as well just throw that book right out the window.
And that goes to my point of doctors. They're like, oh, yeah, you want it? We'll do it, you know? And they're like, oh, wait, your insurance doesn't cover it. You know, your group did. You know, they're not sitting there reading your chart and being like, you have group insurance, so I can give you a shingles vaccine.
Right.
It's tough. So that's why it's all situational. We're going to make it work with the best, but this is what we have. My suggestion to the government, like if in a perfect world,
Listen up, government.
yes, would be like, so like we have Advantage plans, right? They're $0 a month,
Right.
but we're on Medicare, so we're still paying the $185 a month.
Right.
So why don't we do that like for Marketplace? Why don't we add the Marketplace to the Advantage plan program? Because like with Advantage plans, like, hey, you have to go get an X-ray, it's $40. If you have to go get an MRI, it's $300. But right now with these catastrophic deductibles and max out of pockets, if I go get an MRI in that plan, if the MRI is $4,000, I got to pay $4,000
Right.
until I meet that deductible. Because I feel like what it's doing is it's making people fear going to the doctor.
Right.
And that's catching things early and preventative care. Those are huge things, and I feel like it could be overall cheaper if we're catching things early, and making sure that we're getting the best health care, because we do live in the United States of America,
Right.
pretty developed, so that's where if we could have programs like that, I mean, Medicare is going to go up to $200. I'd pay $200 a month, to make sure that, hey, if I get an X-ray, it's $40 or $50. If I go to my doctor, it's a zero copay, $10. Where it's run through, and I feel like we'd have more companies come in,
Right.
and kind of mess around with that and then we have a maximum out of pocket, just like the Advantage plans. If we could roll that into it, because it's just getting outrageous, and we could base it on income, but I would like that better. I think the whole deductible thing is just kind of ruthless, because it's like $7,500 deductible. Well, the first $7,500 is out of your pocket.
Right.
And I know that in the back of my head.
Right.
So because I have a high deductible plan. So I go for my physical. I know that's free. I stick to the script. I don't say any words, and I just make sure I get my routine physical, routine labs, and I don't get a bill. Good.
Turn head, cough, get lollipop, go home.
Yep. Unfortunately, my children get sick and hurt all the time.
Darn those
And
kids.
met the deductible this year, and it's nothing you can do, but yeah, it's tough, and I don't have an answer, but it seems like these Medicare Advantage plans are going pretty well, and they're popular. So if we could kind of have more PPOs, like where you can go in and out of network instead of the HMO, so people can still go to their doctor. It's more universal,
Right.
for travel, and then having just the copays, I think would be much more have more availability to people, where they're like, well, I will go, like I sprained my wrist, but I don't want to get an X-ray because I know it's $400 or $500. But if it's $40, $50, $60, you probably will go get it done.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I know so many people who have had injuries that probably require stitches or whatever, and they're like, no, it's fine. As long as it doesn't get infected, I'm sure I'll be fine. I don't want that doctor bill. It's not I don't want the inconvenience of getting stitched up. I don't want to get bandaged up. I don't want to go see the doctor. I don't want to wait in the waiting room for whatever. I don't want that bill. That's always the fear. And that's horrible.
Yes, you hold your breath when you're opening that envelope.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But that's why, and it's just scary because, people could fall and they hit their head and they're like, oh, I'm good and stuff. And you could have like internal bleeding.
Right.
And not know about it. And I feel like there's a lot of those stories, but it's because they're on high deductible insurance. And yes, like we can't afford this. We're already living paycheck to paycheck. So, but by knowing like, hey, I'm maxed out at this, it's only going to be it's $100 for me to go to the ER. Okay, I'll go, because it's obviously my health is a lot, because you're not going to have any money if you're not here.
Right.
And your family needs you, or your siblings, your brothers, anybody. Like, that's why I think if we could just go to a program like that, just kind of revamp it, that would be recommended. And then you'd be expanding Medicare, so there'd be more people paying into it.
Right.
But we still have to control the cost.
Right.
That's going to be one thing, and I don't know how to do that. But I just think we need to go, because I feel like people in other countries, they go to the doctor because they're not fearing that bill. I mean, we have people that are non-citizens that go, and they are all worried. And then they get the bill, they're like, wow. So there is a way. It's just there's going to be a lot of very, very wealthy people that will not be happy about it.
Well, and you've said before, like obviously there's a reason why insurance companies have their names on major stadiums and buildings and other things of the sort.
And pharmaceuticals.
Right? They're making money. That's what they do. And when you mention the HMOs and kind of how they can negotiate amongst themselves for how much they're going to pay themselves, it's like, well, if I've got to negotiate my own pay with myself, of course I'm going to negotiate more.
Yeah, and if it costs them not having their third yacht, I'm fine with that. I'll sleep fine at night.
Oh yeah, two's enough. Two is more than enough yachts. Yeah, get a rowboat to go with it. You'll feel better. There's a lot of confusing terminology that I kind of wanted to dive into a little bit because we talk about you've got like copay, you got coinsurance, you got deductible, you got max out of pockets. Max out of pockets can be different for medical as well as drugs. There's so much going on there, and I think that confusing language across the board may also scare some people because they think, oh, when I go see the doctor, it's $20. Well, it's $20 copay, but then anything that happens, you also have a deductible you got to meet.
Correct. So that's a perfect point. Okay, so typically with group insurance and marketplace insurance, so people under 65, how it works is because people say that all the time. They're like, I met my deductible.
Right.
Why do I keep getting bills?
Right.
And it's so say your group insurance or your marketplace plan says, hey, to go see your doctor is $50.
Right.
Sometimes they ask for it up front.
Right.
Right. Because it's on your card. So you give them $50, you go do that. All right. Perfect. But then in the appointment, you kind of talk about something else. They could charge you another office visit technically. So it could be another $50.
Right.
Or you went in there because you had a sore wrist and they're like, we better get that x-rayed. That would be subject to deductible.
Right.
So your deductible is, say, $5,000. Yikes. So if that x-ray is $400, you have to pay $400 up to your $5,000. Now, once we hit our deductible, there still can be bills.
Right. Because that's where that coinsurance kind of kicks in, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So after the deductible, our next step would be maximum out of pocket. So what will be the worst case scenario? And in the meantime, once we met our deductible and our max out of pocket, in between there is what we call coinsurance. You nailed it. Typically, it's 80-20.
Right.
So if you get a $1,000 bill, they'll pay $800.
Right.
You'll pay $200, all the way up until our maximum out of pocket. So that's a big deal. Now, copays do not go towards deductible or max out of pocket.
Which is crazy because you'd think they would.
It's still out of your pocket, right?
Right.
I know. That would make sense, but no.
Right.
But the goal is with copay plans, we don't want to meet the max out of pocket. We don't want to meet the deductible.
Right.
It's kind of incentivizing you, like I said before, like we're not fearing going to the doctor. It's $50.
Right.
Right. But that's for an office visit. Right. An office visit is typically $400 or $500, whatever it may be nowadays.
Right. That's not urgent care, kid fell out of the treehouse or, stuff like that.
Yes, but once they start doing, diagnostic tests or they have to do a biopsy or they have to do a procedure, that's all subject to deductible. And it's crazy because, I teach people this, hey, you're doing your physical, stick to the script. Like anything else bothering you? Nope. And that's terrible to say, right?
Right.
If you don't want that bill, that's what you have to do. And it even happened to me. Like I teach people and all of a sudden doctor's like, well, you're due for tetanus. I was like, all right. I don't have gangrene or anything. Like,
Right.
seems pretty preventative to me. Sure.
Right.
So he gave it to me, and then I got a bill for another office appointment and administering of the tetanus shot. So, I kind of appealed it, and I'm like, well, I don't think this is necessary for another office visit, and I just wrote this. I teach people how to do this. I don't understand the justification here. This was a yearly physical, preventative wellness check.
Right. Which you think a vaccine is preventative.
Yes. And I got a letter back a week or two later, and they're like, yep, after reviewing this information, we justified that another office visit was necessary, and they gave me 20% off.
Well, that's nice, I guess.
But no return, no who sent it, nothing.
Right.
This is the way it is. You get 20% off just because you did a little effort trying to
Right.
fight it. What? And I'm telling you, within 3 days after that letter, I had a collection agency call me.
Oh, yeah.
And
That
it
makes
was
sense.
like, what? And I answered it, and they're like, oh, we're just calling about a medical bill. I was like, is this medical bill at this doctor's office? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, I've been appealing this. And they're like, wow, well, we just get the names and numbers. And it was just outrageous. And it was more so the principle.
Right.
You know, like I just never felt like a number more than right there. You know, they're like, pay the bill. Here's 20% off. Stop sending us letters.
Right.
So, yeah, I know
crazy.
it was, and this is like, I teach people to do this. So like, but that's not how healthcare should be.
Right.
You know, and basically like I have a lot of clients going through, you know, some pretty bad sicknesses, you know, or cancers, and you have to be your own advocate. You know, like if they're like, yep, we schedule you for you know, oncologist, you know, they'll see you in 3 months. You're calling them every day. You're on a cancellation list, and you are going to be so annoying that they will find an appointment so you stop calling them.
Right.
You have to be your own advocate. What's the next step? What are we going to do? You know, what's going on? And just constant. And it's terrible that we have to do that, and I know you're not the only person out there that's sick or dealing with something, but at the same time, if time is precious when it comes to some of these sicknesses.
Right.
So, yeah, if we can't get chemo for another 2 weeks, it's like, why? What's going on? Oh, this doctor's out. Well, could we do a prior authorization to this place? You know, if they can get someone in. And just asking those types of questions because it's a system, yes, but at the same time, there is wiggle room sometimes.
Right.
You know, and sometimes you just have to be your own advocate or advocate for your spouse, you know, just to make sure that everything is being done and everyone's aware and transparency. Everyone knows what's going on. Because that's another thing, like when my son was limping, you know, and they did an MRI and his knee was fine. Okay. And then they started doing labs and they didn't really tell us what was going on. Well, they were testing for some type of cancer.
Oh,
Yeah. And
no clue.
yes. So we just got lab results saying like it was negative for some type of cancer. I don't remember. And like, we just kind of asked the doctor like, whoa, what's that? We're like, oh yeah, well, it's typically it's kind of some symptoms, you know. What?
Right.
No one told us this?
Yeah. Nothing at all.
Yeah. So that was a little frustrating and scary. I mean, great test results, I guess, but yeah. So that's why, you know, just asking questions, being aware of what's going on, and the next steps. What's the next step? What can I do? How do I expedite this? Is there ways to expedite it?
Right.
And then if no, there's not. You know, this is the soonest we can get it. Keep calling. Just keep calling.
Well, and I guess really good advice there with the idea of being your own advocate, because I know, and I've seen this, I've done it myself, where I've been in a doctor's office and they go, we probably should run this test and look into this. And rather than saying like, oh, why? You know, I just go, "Oh, okay. There you go. Consent's given. They keep going. And then afterwards, you're like, did we need to do this? Was this crucial? Was this, you know, situationally needed? And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just a standard battery of tests they decide to throw at you.
Oh, yeah.
If I come in with a busted toe, I don't really think I need a strep throat test. But if they ask me and I say sure,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I just rescheduled my yearly physical in October for.
just taking in October is a brilliant idea, by the way.
Well, it was October 1st, wasn't the
Okay.
enrollment period yet?
All right.
So it was like October 1st or 2nd or something like that. And I called and we had like pictures for a website. And the photographer was going to be there, so we had to be in Appleton. Perfect. I call them like, hey, can I reschedule my physical? They're like, yeah. And they're like, let me check the book. And they looked and they're like, all right, January. I was like, excuse me, January? And I was like, what? This isn't a dental appointment. Like,
Right.
I should get my yearly physical this year. And
You'd hope, yeah.
they're like, well, you know, he's booked out that far. And I'm like, okay, well, is there someone else? And they're like, oh. And they looked and they're like, well, yeah, you can meet with this doctor November something, like 12th. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that.
Right.
You know, like I still thought that was crazy, you know. But at the same time, it's like, yes, I mean, because routine physical, routine labs, it's like the labs are the most important.
Right.
Right. The labs are the things we can't see, because the physical is like they look at my nose, they look at my ears, they look at my mouth.
Right.
Oh yeah, everything looks.
I mean, anybody with the title of doctor can put a stethoscope up against you and check a heart rate or, you know, your breathing.
Yes, and not like I have like health issues, but like, yeah, labs are just great, and that's why I advocate for preventative care. I mean, you should do it. People are like, I haven't been a doctor in 20 years. That's awesome. That means you're healthy, but like,
Right.
does it?
Right. Who knows what you don't know.
Yes.
What's underlying.
And that's where we want to, make sure, like, because then you can have something to compare to. Like, oh, yeah, your triglycerides were high. Oh, they're back down next year. That's fine.
Right.
And it's all situational like that. So, yes, if your insurance provides actual wellness exam, get it done. I mean, it's just stick to the script.
Right. Right. It's amazing how important that is. If you want to know what the script is, if you're curious because you don't know, if you want to book an appointment, you want to get in to see, Matt and the team over there at Heiar Insurance, I'm going to throw out the number now. We're going to throw it out here again in a moment. 920-887-0580. Obviously, you guys are just busy right now. You're saying very booked up. Hours still 9 to noon and then 1 to 5. Take that little lunch hour off to breathe and eat and regroup before you got to get right back at it.
Kind of like a mental rebalance, basically.
Yeah, I imagine. Obviously, you guys are busy right now with the Medicare plans. December 7th.
Yep, December 7th.
Yep, this is the end for that one. And then December 15th for the Affordable Care Act plans, which that will kick off starting tomorrow. Obviously, phone calls, providing information, big help for you guys.
Yes, and then if we're having like conflicts of scheduling, because it's very difficult right now, sometimes if you're just like, hey, can you just have Matt call me? So like typically at the end of the day, that's where I have my list and I just start calling people. And so a lot of times we can just wrap it up,
right.
In a 5-10 minute conversation where you're like, okay, well, I was just concerned. I heard you say this, or, I just want to make sure. And then we don't even need an appointment, but it just gives you that peace of mind moving forward to 26. Right.
And that peace of mind sometimes is what you need. And if you're looking for it, obviously Heiar Insurance is a great place to stop and check it out and get that. I know before you guys were talking about you were looking to add somebody to your team. Did you guys find anybody?
Yes, she started this week, so we'll see if I can get her on the radio.
Threw right into the thick of it.
Oh, yes. And this isn't too typical. Like you hire someone during an enrollment period when everything's chaotic. But she's doing well. I mean, she's adapting. She's getting along with everyone. And it's a lot, because that was my biggest fear when I started. I didn't want to answer the phone. Like, because I knew someone was going to be like, all right, I have a question about this. Is my $100,000 surgery covered? And
you're like,
I do not want to answer that. And so, but yes, I learn new things every day. So it's like, you can't learn everything overnight. It's just, we've had so many different situations where they're just learning experiences, and that's why it just comes with time with the job. But she's doing great. And maybe I'll try to get her on the radio at one time when she's comfortable enough to get on here.
Sounds like a plan. Let's end on a big positive note. Your top pick candy-wise for Halloween.
My top pick candy is, I would say Butterfinger, but sleeper pick is Almond Joy. Kids hate Almond Joys, and I'm like, give them all to Dad. I will definitely eat them.
See, we had a whole discussion about that on the morning show. Sherry Sackett, not an Almond Joy fan. She doesn't do the coconut. So obviously Mound's out as well. Mm-hmm. But digging the Almond Joy.
Yeah, they're just the hidden gem.
There you go.
A forgotten gem, I should say.
So if you're going through your kids' candy and the Almond Joys look like they're destined for the trash bin, we know a place you can drop them off. And that's right over there at the Heritage Mall at Heiar Insurance. Just put them in a nice little bag. You put Matt's name on it. I'm sure he won't mind.
That'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to remind everybody again, if you want to talk to them, feel free to give them a call, 920-887-0580. Remind me, website?
Website is actually under construction right now, it is HeiarInsurance.com.
And what's not under construction is their office. It just looks that way because it's so busy. Definitely give a call, swing by if you have any questions. And I guess the only thing left to remind people is
when you want to retire,
call Heiar. This has been a paid program. The advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Heiar Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands.